Welcome back to the third WF talk, and again, that subject is wrestling WWE. It's me, Will Forrest, and with me, I've brought back my tag team partner, Matt.
Hello everyone, thanks for that wonderful introduction, WF.
Wait for the heel turn, So, we've got the Royal Rumble coming up, and we touched upon who we thought might win it in the last hour-long podcast. But this time, we're looking at who's actually going to be in the Royal Rumble. So what I understand this year is that there's going to be 10 men from NXT, 10 from SmackDown, and 10 from Raw. So we're just going to talk through who we think is going to be in there, and we'll have a look afterwards to see who got the most right. Maybe make this a bit of a prediction series with other things going forward. When we know what actual cards are, we can predict the outcomes.
Indeed, Mr. Forrest. So, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot because it was such a long time ago that we spoke about our predictions. I probably haven't even put the winner actually in the draw anywhere. And judging by it, it's difficult, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to go with 10 men from each brand. I don't think that gives you enough. It's strange that you should even say that, but I don't think it gives you enough to play around with to actually get storylines going and continuing or anything along those sort of lines, because there's always a comedy section in a Royal Rumble, isn't there? Yeah. There's always some sort of hilarity. There's always Kofi Kingston's novelty save, basically. You always have to accommodate for these things. You always have the odd surprise person as well. And so I wouldn't be surprised this year if they go down the route of maybe going for the 40-man Royal Rumble. I don't know. It's 2020. Why don't we... Wait, 20 plus 20, that equals 40. It's a 40-man Rumble. That's a good enough gimmick for me to go with, so I'm running with that.
We're going to do 90 men.
Yeah, let's just keep it going. Why not? So, where do you want to start then? Where do you want to start?
I don't mind which brand we start with. I mean, looking at them, I think that NXT's probably got the strongest chance of winning. I'll tell you what I think will happen in this Rumble, though. You know, when you're playing 2K19, 2K20, whatever version you've got, that as long as it doesn't have bugs in it, and at the end of the Rumble, you had the 3 men, and the camera angle changes, and the signs in the background, and they're sort of jostling from side to side. That will happen. It'll be 1 Raw, 1 SmackDown, and 1 NXT.
Has to be.
And I also think an NXT person will win the Rumble again, but they won't capitalise on it. Like at Survivor Series, why wasn't more made of the fact that NXT won Survivor Series? It was sort of like, oh yeah, Raw did crap. Seth Rollins is coming out. He's going to slowly turn heel.
Seth Rollins was angry that Raw lost.
Yeah.
Did anything happen on SmackDown?
No.
And then NXT, they had a bit of a celebration.
Yeah.
And Gargano, Ciampa, one of them came out and did something, and that was it. And that's the payoff. Hang on, we had the sort of superior brand.
Yeah.
And the payoff is we've got everyone in the ring to have a bit of a party.
Yeah.
But everyone now needs to get out of the ring because we've got a whole show to do.
And those people who are feuding with each other are high-fiving and hugging.
Oh, because they're best mates now?
Yeah.
Only for the party, though.
Yeah.
As soon as the party's over, instant face and heel.
Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox are there sharing a drink, even though what happened at War Games.
Just forget that. Brush down to the carpet for the time being.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start with SmackDown. Okay. Everyone out there listening, make sure you get your pen and paper handy, because I'm going to do this rather quickly. So we've only got 10 people to play with, which means all of the New Day is in there. And that's simply so that Kofi Kingston can have his spot. I think I might have wasted 2 entrances there, but it gives them the moment of, look at us, we're a tag team. And if 2020 is the year where they finally put the knife into the New Day and knock it on the head, and let Kofi Kingston go and do that super heel storyline he should have done, this could be a time to do it.
Is Xavier Woods going to be fit then?
Probably not, but I'm hoping he is. for the sake of this podcast, for the sake of argument, and for the sake of the perfect New Day ending, where Kofi Kingston turns heel on them, and finally Vince McMahon swallows his pride. He says, damn, no more of those lovely, lovely royalties and all that money coming in from New Day merchandise. They just knock that on the head. After those 3, because now I've only got 7 left to play with, it's got to be big Braun Strowman, because he's a big draw and he's going to clear out the ring of a lot of people. Baron Corbin, who I said is going to be next year's superstar, but we don't really want to see Corbin versus The Fiend. Reigns, because it's Roman Reigns. A surprise entrance in the form of Sheamus making his return.
Yeah, I can see
I think he's on SmackDown. Who knows? Again, Daniel Bryan, because he's Daniel Bryan and will have to be there. Dolph Ziggler. Now, that's a bit of a strange one, but I've put Dolph Ziggler in there because he's a hell of a seller when it comes to a Royal Rumble. He's going to add to the excitement and the drama. And for a lot of the sort of real smarks in the crowd that still have this little flame burning for Dolph Ziggler to be a world champion again, I think that's going to be the payoff. And I think, besides one person I'm only putting in because I want to see them in there, Cesaro, because I'm thinking if Cesaro's in there, they could do a bit of a bar reunion.
Yeah.
Maybe Sheamus getting to... I'm sure Sheamus, if he is back for the Royal Rumble, probably will clear a good 3 or 4 people out. And if that means he actually throws Cesaro out as well, just to sort of tie up the bar and say, hello, we used to be mates, but we do different things now, that would be nice. So that's me with SmackDown. A lot of names in there just for the sake of you're the main face or the main heel of SmackDown, so you have to be in it.
So I sort of took Daniel Bryan out because I think Daniel Bryan's going to be fighting The Fiend in a match, and I don't think they'll put him into the Rumble because of that. So for me, I'll work my way upwards. I put Dolph Ziggler in as well. I think Dolph Ziggler will be in there to help out King Corbin in the Royal Rumble, as well as the fact that he sells very well and he's a vet nowadays, isn't he? Mustafa Ali for the big spots.
Yeah.
I was going to put Shorty G. I deleted him while you said the next name, and that's Kofi Kingston. I agree. Kofi Kingston's going to fall onto his arse and bunny hop back on his butt into the ring. You know,
do his spot, his annual spot. Yeah.
Number 7, because I don't think they'll have a match for him again. Shinsuke Nakamura. Number 6, I put Cesaro, and number 5, I also put Sheamus.
Yeah.
I think this will lead to Sheamus having a program with Big Braun Strowman. I think he's one of the only legitimate people who could get Strowman out on their own, or maybe Strowman eliminates him. It leads to them having a bit of a feud. That's if Sheamus is going to be heel, which he alluded to when he was talking about what's a Shorty G and all that in that vignette that he did. I'm going to put The Miz in there because if you've got Bryan and The Fiend and they're still fighting and The Miz then goes and wins it, you add it to a nice triple threat. Or you have Miz Fiend, or you have Miz Bryan at Mania. Corbin at number 2, and he'll be helped out by Ziggler. And number 1 has to be the big dog, Roman Reigns, because he's the favourite to win it, isn't he?
Because he is Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
That's why he's there.
Yeah.
Excellent. So pretty much on the same standpoint. Ali, I completely forgot about, but I've got someone to basically be his equivalent from the Raw side, who you can probably guess.
Okay.
Nakamura, well, I didn't even consider him, to be fair. I think he's already in a program with Sami Zayn, and they'll probably just drag that out for as long as they can. And the other one, which is the one that I should have put in there and taken Daniel Bryan out for, was The Miz. Obviously, it made sense for them to go through that.
It's one of them, isn't it? I mean, you don't... The Miz could very easily be inserted into a triple threat match at the Royal Rumble, which I've spoken about, haven't they? So
yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to Raw next.
Raw next seems like a natural progression. So, in the same vein as the New Day going in for SmackDown, I'm going with Seth Rollins, and Into has to be the authors of Pain.
Okay.
So Akeem and Reza. The role which I'm basically thinking for Akeem and Reza is, I don't know if CM Punk did it in the past, or NXT Nexus might have done it in the past. It's the whole Big Show Kane angle where you've got a few too many sort of jobbers in the ring. We need 2 big heavy blokes that can protect one man and throw a lot of other people out.
Yeah.
So we've seen it countless times in the past. It sort of legitimises Seth Rollins as being a weasel because he's getting 2 other big men to do the dirty work. And at the same time, whilst it's a forgettable moment for the Authors of Pain, they'd always be known as their dominance in the Royal Rumble, when really they should be dominant for being a decent tag team. But such is life. That's wrestling for you. The next one I alluded to earlier was the equivalent of Ali. So that's Ricochet. He's just a small, athletic man. He's getting a bit of a rub anyway in terms of what he's doing on Raw.
He's a superhero.
Is he?
He's the resident superhero.
Great. Can't wait to see him do a few flips, and then I can already predict the way he loses or he's thrown out. He jumps up to the top rope and someone pushes him, and it happens every year at a Royal Rumble. So
imagine though, if you had him on the top rope ready to do it, and instead of that, Reigns comes and Superman punches him off the top. A little bit different, a little bit better, but yeah.
Hang on a minute, doesn't that make Reigns a heel? He could never do such a thing. Faces can't throw out faces.
Rollins threw out Reigns when he.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Next is someone that you spoke about on the last podcast, or you've alluded to again in the past, is Rowan. He's another big man. Let's get him in there. Let's give him something to do.
Yeah.
Because this is me speaking in the future. His rat thing didn't take off. No one cared about it. It was never a rat in that bloody pet cage he had anyway. Next man. God, this is a few names just thrown in there for the sake of who they are. So AJ Styles, because he's not doing anything, like I've also said. Kevin Owens, because he seems to be more over, or at least in favour with Vince McMahon.
Yeah. For
a long time. And then the man that didn't really do much the last time he was in a Royal Rumble and looked terribly unimpressive, Aleister Black. Okay. Let's get him in there and get him doing something rather than feuding with Buddy Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I've given myself one extra name, or there was another name that I was going to put in there for the sake of we need to fill the whole comedy element, and that was R-Truth. But the problem with R-Truth is whether or not the 24/7 belt's being retired or if it's still going, unfortunately, because we've had to separate the brands down to only 10 people, it then doesn't give you enough allowance to include all the jobbers that would be chasing down R-Truth for the belt. Because I'm thinking the perfect spot would be R-Truth's all happy and joyous because he's finally got, he's in the Royal Rumble, knowing the Fed that probably put him in at like number 30 or something like that. A whole load of, shouldn't say jobbers, but a whole load of lower card people run out, chase him out the ring, they run round the ring, hooray, and hilarity. But I just don't think, you just haven't got the capacity to do an R-Truth thing, so sorry Mr. Truth, you're out.
See, I like the idea, I like your R-Truth idea. I think having him in the ring and then everybody piling in to try and beat him and him losing the title, or somebody pinning him that's actually in the Rumble, or alternatively, he runs in, gets clothesline. When he gets eliminated and thrown out, you realise that the cameraman is actually Drew Gulak, and he pins him for the 24/7, you know.
That would be a good angle, that would be quality. If like someone does pin R-Truth in the Royal Rumble, they pin him because they're an idiot and you shouldn't be pinning people anyway. But he's pinned him, he's got the belt, and then they eliminate themselves just to get away from R-Truth. You've wrapped up the whole sort of thing nicely, but then you really would have to be rather slow to think you'd eliminate yourself because the 24/7 belt is more important than WrestleMania.
I tell you who I wish I'd have put on the SmackDown one now.
Who you got?
Hello, I am Elias. Completely forgot about Elias.
I know. Where is he? What's he doing?
SmackDown. He's back, isn't he?
Oh, God.
But I'll go on to my Raw.
Yeah.
The title match is going to be Brock Lesnar versus the very over Kevin Owens. Because he's positioned himself away from the Authors of Pain storyline because of the Samoa Joe stuff that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Joe Rollins will happen before Owens Rollins does. And Owens Rollins should have happened years ago when Triple H helped Owens beat Rollins.
Yeah.
So number 20 is Andrade, just because he can do some high-flying spots.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is your resident superhero, again, because of the high-flying spots, Ricochet.
Yeah.
Number 8, Aleister Black, who I hope does have a good Rumble as well. Let him get out the likes of Ziggler and a couple of other ones like that he can afford to.
A bit of a push for him.
Yeah. 7, because he seems to be in every single Royal Rumble, and he'll probably be 1 or 2, Rey Mysterio. Number 6, AJ Styles. AJ Styles has got to be in there, and I think you have him getting through to quite near the end. 5, Rowan, for the reasons you've mentioned. Number 4, I put Randy Orton if he's fit, because I honestly believe that he's being kept for Lesnar at Mania. 3, Samoa Joe.
We're getting off the
if he's not, well, he's meant to be back soon anyway, and if he's not fighting Rollins at the Rumble in a match, you put him in there to prolong their storyline so they can have a match at the next pay-per-view. Number 2, I don't think you mentioned him, which I was surprised at, Drew McIntyre. I think you put him.
I've got him on my list. Trust me, it is written down on there.
I think you put him in, and then number 1 has to be Seth frickin' Rollins, and I think you can have the Authors of Pain help him without actually being in the Rumble.
Yeah,
they just interfere. No, you've got referees trying to get them out as they chuck out a few people. Rub a couple of others up the wrong way. Maybe Joe's beating the hell out of Rollins, and they run in and eliminate him and prolong that storyline. But yeah, so that's 20 each then. So we move on to NXT.
What have we got? So this is it's a bit of a who's who. You should really be able to guess who these are. It's just going to be the big names of NXT.
I think NXT have got a stronger 10 than anybody else, to be honest with you.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a couple that differ.
I think they do things. The thing with NXT is that, you've got your main event, but then the rest of them are involved in other storylines. They do things right. Remember when you had the Rock, Austin, Triple H, Kurt Angle, and you had Austin's fighting Angle for a number 1 contendership match at WrestleMania to take on the winner of the Rock Triple H. And that's how NXT seem to do things. That's how it should be, rather than just having Orton Styles in a meaningless feud, Rollins Owens. It's not meaningless, but why don't you put the winner against Lesnar?
Yeah.
Why don't you have Rollins saying, I've beaten him enough times, I'll take him on. Owens coming out going, I'm fed up of you. I'm going to fight you. Whoever wins takes him on.
That's an interesting point about, in terms of, we're getting really kayfabe now. Really kayfabe. What would you rather do if wrestling was a legitimate thing? Would you rather have a championship shot at the Royal Rumble, or would you rather have your luck, go for the double glory, win the Royal Rumble, and then get the main event at WrestleMania? What would you rather do? Would you just go for glory, like get the belt as soon as I can? Because you're going to be main eventing at WrestleMania anyway.
What do you mean? So if you win the Royal Rumble, you get given the belt? Is that what you mean?
No. What would you like? What's the way you'd want to do it? It might be a dumb question, but would you want to go for the double glory, win the Royal Rumble, so your name will forever be known as the man that won the 2020 Royal Rumble? Great. But then also headline WrestleMania. You might win the belt, you might not, either way.
I think...
Or would you just go for glory? Just go for it?
My favourite pay-per-view's always been the Royal Rumble because of the carnage of it. So I think I'd want to win the Rumble. And then you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to win at Mania anyway, aren't you? There aren't many people, unless you're Dave Bautista, who are going to lose later on down the line. I'd go for that Rumble win,
I don't know. Do you go for the gold straight away? It's a hell of a match, a Royal Rumble. You're up against 29 other fellas.
Well, yeah.
But if you win it, your name's up in lights and you get to point at the big sign.
Well, that's it. I quite like pointing at signs.
Indeed. Yeah. Sure. Let's move on to NXT then. So, the man that I said is going to win all the gold next year and be everyone's favourite wrestler, Keith Lee. Keith Lee's in there. He's a big man. We've already shown him. Nice. We've already shown him do the pounce on Adam Cole a few weeks ago on NXT.
Oh, it's amazing.
Where poor old Adam Cole ended up, in the audience.
Yeah.
So I can see Keith doing that at the Royal Rumble just for, it's a hell of a spot. Don't know who he's going to do it against because it's going to have to be someone little, probably Ricochet, but then it's face versus face. So Don't go down well. I am putting... This is completely fancy booking because I forgot about the rest of the card as well. Who watches that? I'm just going to skip straight to the Royal Rumble. So all the Undisputed Era are in there.
Yep.
And I'm doing that so we can have a big face-off against the New Day. And you can, I don't know, try and pick a tag team out of the Raw side. So probably the Authors of Pain and Seth Rollins. Let's just get like these three sort of big factions, or at least what we've got close to a faction, having a bit of a standoff.
We can imagine all the rest of the Rumble just turning on those four, couldn't you? And beating the holy hell out of them.
So, I don't know if I've done the maths right, but I'm sort of tempted to put Finn Balor in there as well on the NXT side, and I think that's for the casual fans to show, guess what, this man is still knocking about. You haven't seen him on telly for a while, but hey, he's like a decent person on NXT now. We still do things with him, so that's why Finn's in there. And I think it probably would get people marking out on the Raw and SmackDown side of things to go, he's returned. No, he didn't really go anywhere, but he's returned.
Yeah.
And then, it's a toughie. We said Pete Dunne's going to do things, so that's why I'm putting him in there. Although his last Royal Rumble wasn't the most impressive, and he was sort of dwarfed by bigger people, and he just didn't look impressive. But that's because of the rest of the star power. And then Gargano and Ciampa, because they're big names. They're probably going to be having matches anyway on the card, or they'll be having, I don't know, a takeover the night before. But again, they're big names. And basically, if NXT aren't winning the Royal Rumble, what you're doing is putting eyes on NXT as a product. And so you need to have your big names in there. I've probably got a couple more that I'd put in there, but I don't think they're a big enough draw. Dominic Dijakovic. He's a big European man, given the surname, but I don't think, unless you're hardcore and you're watching NXT all the time, he's a bit generic, isn't he? No one's really, if you've never seen him before, you're not going to be wowed by him. And that is my Royal Rumble 2020.
Okay.
Who you got?
Well, I've actually taken out Dominic Dijakovic because I thought of somebody else.
Because of my glorious argument.
Because of your glorious argument. Number 10 is Damian Priest, because they've got a bit of a push for him, haven't they? The Archer of Infamy. Everybody's favourite Brummie, not Jasper Carrot, Pete Dunne. The Velveteen Dream. I'd like to see him return, come back. Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle.
Forgot him again.
I wouldn't put in Fish and O'Reilly, but I would put in Roddy Strong. And if you've got Roddy Strong in there, you've got to have Adam Cole, baby.
Oh yeah, Adam Cole's going to be the given, but why are you putting Roderick Strong in there?
Just because I think you could tease a little bit some of their Imagine Strong eliminates Cole.
That'd be good.
Doesn't have to lead to anything. I hope it doesn't. I hope they stay together, but just do them. Balor, Gargano and Ciampa to win it.
Has to be. Why is that though? Is that just to put eyes on NXT or?
Ciampa to win it, Gargano to win the title at some point, Ciampa to take on Gargano at Mania.
That's to set up your dream ending.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens.
Right. So we've got all 30 names.
Yep.
Now what we're going to do is just quickly go through the people that we may have forgotten or the surprise entrances, and one of them, which you've already read from my notes, is old John Morrison. He must be showing up at the Royal Rumble.
He's going to show up somewhere, but where does he go? Does he become Johnny Raw, Johnny SmackDown, or Johnny NXT?
He can't be Johnny Wrestling. That one's already taken, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's. I mean, he could come back then. Does he take on The Miz? Does it lead to something there?
Oh yeah, what did they used to be called?
Don't know.
Did they have a tag name? They had that little section, the segment,
the
where
Dirt
they dressed up the same.
Yeah. CM Punk.
Is he coming back for a Royal Rumble?
To win it. Take on Lesnar.
Oh,
at Mania. Goldberg.
He's done. He's washed up.
Goldberg's
Matt Riddle won't let him back into the building. Or he's going to bang him out.
Goldberg will be back at some point. Could Triple H be in it?
God, you can see it happening, and it's not nice to see and nice to even speak about, but you can see Triple H like ending up costing an NXT person, can't you? Just so he gets... Triple H deserves a WrestleMania moment. All that good work he's done for NXT, let's push this man. Push him to the moon.
It's not like he's ever had an entrance or anything before, is he?
But I can already see it. I can see Triple H, it coming down to Ciampa and Triple H. And Triple H screws him over and throws him out.
Could Walter be in it? That's
an idea as a push. But then, do you need an American audience watching NXT UK? Yes, you probably do, but are they going to? Probably not. And again, this comes back to the Dominic Dijakovic argument.
Yeah.
Walter is a big fella. He's a bloody great big fella, in fact. But he's a bit generic and he's a bit plain looking.
Definitely. I think if you're going to push him, you've got to then push all of Imperium. And who are they taking down after that? If you're going to put them on the main roster, do it on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Unfortunately, I think there's only about 3 people from each brand that could win it, except for maybe NXT, where you've got four or five.
It gives you a lot of possibilities. Honestly, I can't see an NXT person winning it. But it would be... Who would you give it to on NXT? If we're going away from the dream ending of Gargano and Ciampa.
Okay. So...
Who would you have? Would you have Velveteen Dream doing it, and then would you put them straight into a main event against Brock Lesnar or Bray Wyatt?
I mean, they could take on... NXT are going to have a big say at WrestleMania anyway, so what's not to say that he doesn't just challenge the champion there?
Yeah.
I don't think Dream. I think you've got Keith Lee, who could. Matt Riddle potentially could. He might need to put some trainers on, but he potentially could. Adam Cole, after the year he's had, deserves something bigger than what he's got already. And the other one, this new Finn Balor, is it him? Does he go after the Fiend because of what he's turned him back into? And then does that lead to another match and Balor turning back into the Demon and going back to Raw or SmackDown? Because there has been talk that people will just go to NXT for a few months while they're waiting on a Raw or SmackDown storyline to develop and go back to their show.
I like the idea of Finn Balor going against the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, whatever he's going to come out as. We have seen it in the past where did Finn Balor like dress up as a pumpkin or something? I'm sure he did. And this was when Bray Wyatt decided to go whole Sister Abigail.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the black belt. And that was just a forgettable train wreck of a match. Whereas Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor, which happened recently as well. I couldn't tell you the pay-per-view, but I know that Finn Balor got thrown all over the place.
Last year's Royal Rumble, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
Was it that long ago? He did a hell of a job selling for him. It looked impressive, and he did look impressive. I remember, I think he did the same spot 3 times where he dived through the middle ropes, and he kept on hitting Lesnar in the chest. So Lesnar would fall back into the announce table, and they went for the whole, and he got dodgy kidneys or a dodgy liver or something.
Yeah.
It's like a legit injury that he'd had through MMA as well. And so that was a decent sort of memorable match for me, at least. So I can't see anyone, if they win this, I'm worried about putting anyone that we put into the Royal Rumble against Bray Wyatt, because I think they've put so much time and effort and money into Bray Wyatt. Do you want him as someone chasing the belt? Now he's got the belt and he's come across as like this undefeatable monster. It still seems too early to take the belt off him.
Yeah.
Because when did he get it?
Crown Jewel.
Straight when was that? End of October?
End of October. So yeah, I mean.
So giving him the belt for 6 months, it still seems early.
He's either got to run with it for many years and never get beaten, never lose that title, or he needs to lose it in a multi-man match.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't affect him at all and he can go on to somebody else because they cost him.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about this new Balor, could this new Balor go after Lesnar, show him that he's got this change in persona and take the title off him? I mean, it'd be heel, but it's a potential there.
Yeah, but like what you're saying, if people move to NXT just to sort of keep the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
Finn Balor can easily come back as a face, can't he? Is he a face at the moment? Is he a tweener?
No, he's a heel at the moment.
Is he?
Well, saying that, I mean, he was a heel, wasn't he? Then he attacked Adam Cole, and then he fought Adam Cole. But now Gargano's come back for him. So, I mean, the one thing I would like to see is you've got Balor stood up against Styles. Styles maybe goes for the too sweet, and as Balor lifts his hands up as well, someone appears behind him and he Pele kicks them, and you never actually get that too sweet moment. But it alludes to it.
Yeah.
You get that dirty little Pele kick that he started doing, and he could eliminate somebody with it. You know.
Could indeed.
I think there's quite a few legitimate people who could win. You need to, if you're going to keep the title on Lesnar, you could go for a Joe, you could go for an Owens, you could go for a McIntyre and Orton. Somebody, it's got to be a bigger wrestler, but they've got to be a face. So that sort of rules out McIntyre, rules out Styles. With the Fiend, Roman Reigns, Strowman, if you want to go full circle. But the Fiend has got to beat him, especially after what the Fiend did to Strowman before, and he showed he wasn't scared of him.
Yeah.
And then with NXT, anybody, because I don't think Cole necessarily has to take that title into WrestleMania for him to be on the show. Adam Cole might win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, you know. I know it's not a great thing, but it's another accolade for him. Or he could be in a multi-man ladder match. He could be in a Undisputed Era versus New Day match, as you've said.
Yeah, I think the problem is the way, you know, with any fantasy booking, all you can go on is where you can't. But the way I'm pretty much looking at it is I'm looking at their current character.
Yeah.
The time between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, it should give you enough time to do a complete 180 on both characters easily. Both that you can have a double turn, whatever. If you've got a face now, guess what? In 2 months' time, they're a heel. It only takes one episode of Raw or SmackDown or NXT for them to actually do that. So I think let's pick a couple of winners then. Let's just go for it. Who are you legit seeing as your winner then? So if it's not Ciampa, it has to be Reigns. Just because it has to be.
If it's Reigns, it's because it has to be. If it's from SmackDown, it's Ciampa. If it's from Raw, sorry to say it, it's Randy Orton. I think they give him they give him that third one. You know, he's a future Hall of Famer. He doesn't need it, but it legitimises him more for when he beats Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And if that doesn't happen, my beliefs of the last few months have just been wasted.
And I'm going to go with R-Truth. He gets pinned in the middle of the ring, but because he's done such a sterling job of being a champion for this long, he gets the power inside of him that he always wanted. He eliminates him. Right? Who would have thought he would have thrown out both the Authors of Pain at the same time? Who would have thought? And he went and threw out Reigns as well. Unbelievable.
To be honest with you, the only other person that you could have mentioned was maybe Akira Tozawa, that I might have believed. But there we go. A nice one. We'll have a look back at the Royal Rumble then once the Royal Rumble's taken place. We'll see how many we get right. Once we know what the match card is as well, maybe we do a couple of predictions as to who wins what match.
Indeed.
And we'll take things from there. After that, we can then start looking at, if you could make WrestleMania, all of the matches, what matches are you going to make, and just put a little bit more emphasis on those three main events. Sound?
Excellent.
Nice one. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you'd like to. There's also a like button there as well if you want to hear more from us talking about wrestling in the future. Cheers, Tar. Thank you very much.